Chapter 5. The Proposal. Alex Connor hadn't looked like identical twins since they were 4 years old. It was around that age when Charlotte stopped dressing them in the same outfits every day, and they started growing into their own unique features. But as they sat on the couch, both staring daggers at Bob, with their arms crossed, it was once again hard to tell them apart. "So," Bob said, and shifted uncomfortably in a chair across from them, "your mom said she finally spilled the beans about us." It was brave of him to take the situation by the horns. "She sure did," Connor said. Bob nodded pleasantly, like it was good news. The twins didn't even blink. They were an intimidating pair. "I apologize that those flowers came to the house. They're supposed to have gone to the hospital," Bob said. "Yes, they should have," Alex said. Bob had done thousands of difficult surgeries over the course of his career, but he found being stared down by children and the woman he was dating to be the most stressful experience of his life. "I understand why this is difficult information to process," Bob said. "But it's still me, guys. I'm still the same Dr. Bob who you had dinner with a dozen times. I'm the same guy who takes you to see the movies your mom doesn't want to see. I'm still the same guy who brought you Buster. I just happen to be dating our mother," Connor asked. "Nice try, but everything you listed makes the situation worse. We thought we knew you. Are you admitting that Buster was some sort of dowry, Bob?" Alex said. "Alex, what's a dowry?" Connor said out of the side of his mouth, not breaking his stare at Bob. "It's a settlement of sorts," Alex said. "Like in ancient times, a man would be promised a dozen camels or something in exchange for his daughter's hand in marriage." "Gotcha," Connor said, diverting his full attention back to Bob. "You don't think our mother is worth a dozen camels, Bob? One dog, and you think the deal is sealed?" "I definitely don't think the deal is sealed," Bob said. "Yet." Alex Connor narrowed their eyes in perfect unison. Bob reached inside his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. The twins wondered what it was for a second, but only a second. Once they realized it was too small to hold anything but a ring, it dawned on them what it meant. "Oh my God," Alex said. "No way," Connor said. Bob looked down the box with a smile. "You know, when my wife died 4 years ago, and I thought I would be happy again," he said. "I save lives every day, but for a long time, I thought it would be impossible to save mine. And then along came your mom, and I learned I had been wrong." Alex Connor looked at each other out of the corner of their eyes. They had never seen Bob get so sappy, but still, they appreciated how honest he was being with them. "I know you've been seeing each other for a while, but this all seems so sudden," Alex said. "We only found out last night," Connor said. "In our minds, you guys have only been dating for 1 day. Are you sure you aren't rushing things?" The way he looked down the ring, the loving eyes and heartfelt smile, made it obvious that Bob had never been so sure about something in his life. "I've been around for a while, guys, and I've learned that things like this don't come around very often," Bob said. "Not taking this opportunity to ask your mother to be with me for the rest of my life would make me the biggest fool in the world." Bob opened the box and showed the twins the ring. Alex gasped. It was the most beautiful ring they had ever seen. It had a silver band with 2 large diamonds, one blue and the other pink. They could have sworn they heard music playing when it twinkled in the light. It was just in their heads. "It took me about a month to find the perfect one," Bob said. "I knew this was right as soon as I saw it. I thought the diamonds would remind her of you two. They're different shades of the same cut." Alex's eyes immediately watered after hearing this. Connor folded his arms even tighter. "That's the most touching thing I've ever heard," Alex said between sniffles. "Stop making me like you again," Connor said, brow forward. Bob sat straighter, happy their meeting was moving in the better direction. "I'm not trying to replace your dad, and I'm not asking to be your new one," he said, "but I am asking for your permission to ask your mother to marry me." I don't want to do this without your blessing." The twins couldn't believe it. They both felt like they were passengers on the ship, and now he was letting them be its captains? "We need a minute to think it over," Connor answered quickly. Before Alex knew it, her brother was dragging her into the kitchen. They stood there for a few moments in total silence, just staring at each other. "What are you thinking?" Alex said. "I'm thinking this is uncomfortable," Connor said. "This is more uncomfortable than the time I walked in on you and Mom talking about training bras." Alex rolled her eyes and peeked into the other room at Bob, making sure he couldn't hear them. "Honestly, Connor, I don't think we have any power over this. It was really nice of Bob to act like we were part of the decision, but you just heard what he had to say, and you heard what Mom said last night. I don't think anything is going to stop them from being together." Connor sighed and ran his fingers through his hair. "You're right," Connor said, "but who knows if Mom is even going to say yes? Maybe she'll have reservations about it." "Reservations about what?" Alex said. "She loves him, and he loves her. What's going to stop her?" Connor looked away from her, not wanting to say what he was thinking, but they were both thinking it. "Dad's dead, Connor," Alex said. "He's not coming back no matter how much we want him to." It was hard for Alex to be so frank. Usually she let the adults in her life dish out the tough love, but since they were slowly disappearing, she had no choice but to serve it up herself. Connor knew she was speaking to herself as much as she was speaking to him. Alex had a talent for saying everything he didn't want to think. "I suppose Mom has given us so much over the years. Our blessing is the very least we could give her," Connor said. "Yeah, it is," Alex said and nodded. "This is another big one." "Another big what?" "A big moment," Alex said and said. "We have a lot of them." "Yeah, we have," he said. "You'd think we'd be immune to it by now." "Immune to life?" Alex said. "Is anyone ever that lucky?" Connor grunted and put his hands on his lips. "Fine," he said. "He can marry Mom, but I'm still calling Dr. Bob." The twins returned to the other room. Bob anxiously stood and faced them. "Well," he asked with bated breath. "The jury has spoken," Connor said. "Alex and I have decided you may ask our Mom to marry you." Bob joyfully clapped his hands together and tears came down to his eyes. "Guys, you make me the happiest man alive," Bob said. "Thank you. I promise to take care of her for the rest of her life." Buster barked and jumped up and down, joining in the celebration. "Where are you going to do it?" Alex asked him. "How about here? Over dinner, maybe," Bob said. "I'll order food from her favorite restaurant and surprise her when she gets off work." "When?" Connor asked. "The sooner the better," Bob said. "I'm free next Thursday night." "How about then?" "I have class in the afternoon, but I'll be home by 6, Alex said. "Great, then it's settled," Bob said. "I'll propose to her next week on Thursday night at 6 o'clock. I'll ask a few nurses to keep your Mom busy so she doesn't get home early and ruin the surprise. This is going to be terrific." The twins were looking forward to it. Not the event itself, but a chance to see their mom happy again. "Hey, Bob," Connor said. "Are you going to move in with us? Usually married people like to live with each other, for the first couple of months at least." "That's a good question," Alex said. "Where are we going to live?" "My house," Bob said, and shrugged his shoulders. "Before she died, my wife and I bought a big house not too far from here, thinking we were going to raise a family. It'd be nice to finally fill those rooms up." The twins looked around their small rental house. The thought of leaving it made them feel sad. It had unexpectedly become home over the years. "It'll be weird to move again," Alex said, "but easy since we never actually finished unpacking last time." "I've got a swimming pool," Bob said, trying to cheer up the twins. Connor's eyes grew big. "Whoa, whoa, whoa," he said. "Bob, you could have saved yourself an entire afternoon if you just started with swimming pool." Alex rolled her eyes. Bob let out a soft chuckle. "Now, Mom better say yes, or I'm going to be so disappointed," Connor said. It was hard for the twins to focus on anything the following week. The looming Thursday stood out like a bookmark page in their future. The closer it got, the more anxious they became. Alex and Connor didn't know why they were so nervous. After all, they weren't asking anyone to marry them. But in a strange way, Bob was marrying them too. And as apprehensive about it as they were, the twins started to feel excited about Bob joining their family. Connor was really looking forward to having another man around the house. As much as he loved his mom and sister, he missed having someone else there who appreciated the comedy in a bodily function. He wrote a short story in his English class that week about a family of trolls whose mother was engaged to an ogre. It wasn't the most flattering description of any of them, but it was quite therapeutic for him. He drew little sketches in the margins of his paper. The troll children looked very much like him and his sister. The one based on Alex had a headband in front of her horns. Alex found Connor working on the story one afternoon after school. She had never seen him look so devoted to something before. "What's this?" Alex asked him. "Oh, it's nothing," Connor said, a little embarrassed. He still hadn't talked to her about his meeting with Mrs. Peters. "It's just some Korean writing for English." "That's nice. Wait, is that supposed to be me?" Alex said, and pointed to his sketch. "Not at all," Connor said. "What would make you think like that?" "Because it says supposed to be Alex underneath," she said, annoyed and offended. "That's so rude, Connor. How old are you?" Connor guiltily looked up at his sister. "There's something I forgot to tell you," he said. "I've sort of been writing about the two of us a lot in my English class." "What do you mean?" Alex said. "About our adventures in the fairy tale world," he said. "They made for some great stories. That's why Mrs. Peters called me down to the office the other day. She really liked them and wanted me to consider to be a writer. She said I may have what it takes, whatever this is." He paused. "Thoughts or concerns?" Alex blinked twice. "I think that's a wonderful idea," she said, and Alex sighed with relief. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I was worried you wouldn't want me spreading our business around," Connor said. "You're kind of the co-owner of our experience." "On the contrary," she said, "I think they should be told. We saw so many things and met so many people. It would be a waste to keep them to ourselves. Dad would be so proud of you." Connor smiled to himself. He hadn't thought about that. "Really?" he asked. "You think so?" "Absolutely," Alex said. "He'd be so happy the storyteller gene went to one of us. I've always tried telling and retelling stories, but you're so much better at it than me. You're funny. People like listening to you." Connor shrugged. "Oh, shucks," he said. "I'm not going to argue." He pulled out the stack of his stories to share with her. "This one's about Trix's child, and this one is about Trobel given free in exchange for a kiss. Wish I could forget about that. This was my first one, about the curvy tree. But I was super paranoid people would find out it was true, so I called it the curvy giraffe. It doesn't make as much sense, but oh well, I'm learning." "This is great, Connor," Alex said. "Really great." Connor grinned from ear to ear. He believed her much more than he believed Mrs. Peters. Her approval gave him the validation he needed to believe in himself. Alex flipped through her brother's stories. She smiled and laughed as she scanned through them, remembering the events they were on. "Oh dear," Alex said, looking up from the papers, a fresh thought behind her eyes. "Bob. Are we going to tell him? Are we going to tell him who Grandma and Dad really are?" Connor couldn't answer. The thought hadn't crossed either of their minds until now. How are they going to share their family's biggest secret with him? "Should we tell him?" Connor asked. "We probably should in case Grandma ever shows up with an elf or a fairy on our doorstep," Alex said. Connor looked off into the distance. "Gosh, who are we?" he said. "What other family has a problem like this? Most skeletons in the closet don't have wings." "I imagine I'll have a lot of questions. He'll have a lot of questions either way," Alex said. She let out a long sigh. "But it's not like it's really relevant anymore. It may be pointless to tell him if we have ties to another dimension if we don't get to interact with it ever again." "Guess we'll just have to play by ear," Connor said. "It may be a good excuse to have our back pocket for when we get older. We could tell Bob we're going to the fairy tale world and go to a party instead." Alex tilted her head and looked at him curiously. "Why would you ever choose a party over the fairy tale world?" Connor shook his head. Just for once, he wished for his sister would think more like a normal teenager. "I keep forgetting you're an 80-year-old trapped in a 13-year-old body, he said. Never mind. The end of the week slowly arrived, and the twins woke up to a beautiful Thursday morning. They gave their mom extra long hugs just before they left the house, causing her to raise a suspicious eyebrow at them as they headed to school. Alex Connor felt like the day passed by extra slowly. They glanced up the clock every 5 minutes only to be disappointed it hadn't changed much. As soon as school ended, Connor ran home and met Bob at the house to help prepare for the night. He cut corners over his neighbor's lawn and was so careless he nearly tripped over a lawn gnome. Alex was so antsy to enjoy her honors course or be sleepy on the train ride back. She just wanted the night to be perfect for her mom. And from the looks of things, when Alex finally got home, it was going to be pretty close. The kitchen table had been covered with silk cloth, and there were candles placed in the center. A bottle of champagne and a bottle of cider on the table as well began to be opened for a celebration. The whole house smelled delicious as Bob had picked up food from Charlotte's favorite Italian restaurant. He was dressed in a nice suit and tie and held the box tightly in his hand, afraid to let it go. Even Connor had dressed up, put on his best button-down shirt. Alex tried putting a bow on Buster's collar, but he wouldn't let her. The dog had been acting strange for a couple days. He stayed seated by the front door and growled at it occasionally. The twins figured a new cat must have moved to the neighborhood, or maybe their jitters were rubbing off on him. But aside from the dog, everything seemed to be going according to plan. Alex ran up to her bedroom and dressed in a skirt and her nicest headband. She came downstairs at 6:30 and joined Bob and Connor at the table. Mom should be here any minute, Connor said. Let's make this proposal quick, Bob. I'm starving. I'll do my best, Bob said. He kept looking down the ring. As excited as the twins were, they knew it was nothing compared to what Bob was feeling. They couldn't wait for her to walk through the door and see them waiting for her. Alex hoped her mom wouldn't cry too much because she might start crying. Connor hoped Alex wouldn't start crying because he might start crying, and there was no dust to blame it on. Unfortunately, Charlotte was running late, so the three of them were forced to wait. They waited, and waited, and waited some more. More than an hour had passed after the time she was supposed to be home. Should we call her, Connor asked. Maybe we should give her a ring to see where she is. Get it? Get it? No, don't, Alex said. She can't suspect a thing. Another hour of the twins' anticipation turned to anxiety. Bob decided to put the food away so it wouldn't go bad. I guess Nurse Nancy is being very thorough, Bob chuckled. She's probably making sure your mom doesn't get here too early. But the twins weren't laughing. The last time they waited this long for a parent, they lost one. I'm going to give Nancy a call, Bob said. After even more time had passed, and he dialed his colleague at the children's hospital. Hello, Nancy? Hi, it's Bob. I'm here with the kids. Has Charlotte left yet? Alice Connor leaned toward him. He could barely make out what Nancy was saying on the other line. What they could hear, she sounded surprised. She left 2 hours ago, Bob said on the phone. Are you sure? We haven't heard anything from her. Alex Connor exchanged fearful looks. Something's wrong, Alex said. I can feel it. Something's happened. Mom has never looked like this, Connor said, shaking his head. Okay, thank you, Nancy. I'll try calling her, Bob said, and hung up the phone. He quickly dialed Charlotte's number next. He didn't make eye contact with the twins. No one wanted to add to their concern with his. Bob tried calling several times with no luck. She's not answering, guys, Bob said. Do you think she spontaneously decided to run errands tonight? Alex, worried sick, burst into tears. We need to call the police, Alex said. The police won't do anything unless she's been gone for 48 hours, Bob said. Let's not panic just yet. Connor jumped up from the table and paced around the room. There's got to be something we can do, he said. I'm going to get my bike and go looking for her, Alex said. I'll go with you, Connor announced. Nobody's going anywhere, Bob said calmly, although the twins knew he was just as stressed as they were. We tried calling the hospital and her phone. Let's wait for a few more minutes in case she tries to call us back. Alex's tears began to flow faster the more she worried. It was impossible not to. The twins feared their history was repeating itself. Buster suddenly started barking frenzy. He was staring intently at the front door, jumping up and down, scratching it, growling as loudly as he possibly could. The twins had never seen him like this before. "Buster, what is it, boy?" Bob said. "Is someone at the doorbell rang?" All of them, including the dog, completely froze. It rang twice before any of them moved. "Who could that be at this hour?" Bob said, and went to answer the door. Twins followed him into the doorway. They almost wished he wouldn't answer it. Whatever or whoever it was too late to be anything good. Buster began another barking and jumping fit. "Buster, get down, boy," Bob told him. The dog backed away from the door and stood directly in front of the twins, protected of them. He was ready to pounce on something in instant if he didn't like the looks of it. Was he sensing something they couldn't? Bob looked back at the distressed twins. "It's going to be all right, kids," he said calmly. "Whatever happens, just know it's all going to be okay." Bob slowly opened the front door and peeked out to the porch. It seemed empty. "Hello?" he said. So there was nothing and nobody to be found. "Hello?" Bob tried again. "Is someone out there?" "Seize him!" In a split second, a dozen soldiers dressed in silver armor barged through the door. One slammed Bob hard against the wall. Alex screamed. Connor grabbed her arm, and they tried to run to the other side of the house, but the soldiers formed a tight circle around them and Buster. Their swords were drawn, and they held heavy shields with small glass slippers displayed on the outside crest. The twins recognized the soldiers immediately. They were from the Charming Kingdom, but what in the world are they doing here? "Get your hands off of me this instant!" Bob yelled, struggling under the soldiers' restraint. "Get away from those kids! Who are you people?" "We've securely surrounded the twins," the soldier host Alex called to the open front door. "Bring the fairy godmother." Alex kind of looked at each other so fast they could have hurt their necks. "Fairy godmother?" they said in unison. The two soldiers quickly charged into the house, led by none other by their grandmother. "Grandma?" the twins gasped together. They almost didn't believe their eyes. She looked exactly the same as she did the last time they saw her. She was dressed in her long sky-blue robe that sparkled like the night sky. Her hair was styled up with beautiful white flowers in it. She raised her crystal wand authoritatively as if she walked through the house. Authoritatively. As she walked through the house. The twins had never seen her look so worried. "Oh, thank heavens," Grandma said. The soldiers parted their circle for her, and she threw her arms around Alex and Connor. "You have no idea how happy I am to see you," Grandma said. Hugging them so tight, felt like they'd pop. The twins didn't hug back. They couldn't believe they were seeing her in real life. Their heads were spinning with so many questions, but they only managed to spit out the basics. "Grandma," Alex said, "is it actually you?" "Where have you been?" Connor said. Their grandmother gently placed a hand on each of their faces. "I'm sorry I've been gone for so long," she said sulphurly. "I promise to explain everything later." She took a moment just to look at them through their teary eyes. They knew she had missed them as much as they missed her. "Just look at you two. You've both grown a foot since the last time I saw you," Grandma said. Just then a familiar man walked through the door. He had a distinguished jawline and wore a bright yellow suit. To Bob's amazement, the man's shoulders and his hair were actually on fire. The twins recognized him instantly. It was Xanthios, the only male fairy in the fairy council. "I checked around the property," Xanthios said. "It's clear." "Xanthios?" Alex said. "What's he doing here?" Bob fought restlessly on the soldiers, pinning him to the wall. "What's going on?" he yelled. "Who are you people?" Grandma raised her wand in his direction. Xanthios pointed a few fingers at him, and the whole hand suddenly lit on fire. Both were ready to fight if necessary. "Do you know this man?" Xanthios asked the twins. "Yeah, that's Dr. Bob," Connor said. "Don't set him on fire. That's our mom's boyfriend." "Boyfriend?" Grandma said, and lowered the wand. "Well, I must have been gone for longer than I thought." "Release him," Xanthios ordered and lowered his hand. The soldiers immediately dropped his hold on Bob. "This woman is your grandmother?" Bob asked the twins. "Is she part of the circus or something? What's with all the tricks and costumes?" "What on earth is a circus?" Xanthios said, unsure whether he should take offense. Alex and Connor didn't know where to begin. Bob, it's a long story, Alex said. In a nutshell, our grandmother is Cinderella's fairy godmother from the fairy tale world, Connor said. I know it's a lot of process, so take your time, but we promise that's the only baggage our family has got. Bob's eyes grew bigger as he glanced at the soldiers, at their grandma, and at Xanthias. Uh-huh, Bob said, grunted, not convinced. Their grandmother looked around the living room, gravely concerned. Where's your mother? She asked. We don't know, Connor said. She was supposed to be home a few hours ago, Alex said. Grandma, what's wrong? Connor said. Do you know where Mom is? Their grandmother didn't answer, staying deep in thought. Grandma, what's happening? Alex demanded. We haven't seen you in over a year. Why have you suddenly show up out of the blue? You have to tell us what's going on. Where's our mom? Their grandma looked back and forth between them. Children, what I'm about to tell you is going to seem very frightening, she said, but I need you to be strong and trust that many qualified people are handling the situation. The twins nodded patiently. Any news was better than no news. I believe your mother has been kidnapped, their grandmother informed them. They were wrong. Having no news was much better than knowing this. Alright, that is the end of Chapter 5. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to hear more from the Land of Stories, The Enchantress Returns, or more books in the future when I have them. And also, if you want to give me recommendations on future reads, make sure you comment those on my videos, and I'll be happy to read those someday. And most importantly, I hope everyone had a very Merry Christmas this year, and hopefully a safe Merry Christmas. Or if you don't celebrate Christmas, I hope you enjoyed a wonderful Hanukkah or a Happy Kwanzaa this year. And I hope you enjoyed the read. Bye!